Governor, I wanted to ask you, it's more likely than not that either during the lame duck session or very early in the new session coming up in January, the General Assembly may act on legislation in response to the Dobbs decision in the Supreme Court of the United States. You have had a lifetime commitment to the Right to Life movement, and that's well known. Are you prepared to sign legislation that would, in effect, totally ban the opportunity for women to obtain abortion in Ohio?
Tom, let's go back for a moment. You're absolutely correct. Throughout my career, I think that everyone would agree. I'm pro-life. I think one of the essential functions of government is to protect the most vulnerable. I think our unborn certainly come into that category. So the protection of human life is a common theme that you will find throughout my career, not just the unborn, but throughout my career, including my term as the governor of the state of Ohio. We are now going through a nationwide debate that, of course, was kicked off when Roe v. Wade, when the United States Supreme Court overruled Roe v. Wade and returned this matter to the states. I think it's important. I just want to say this because I said it the day the decision came down, but we can't say it enough. There are people of goodwill, good people on both sides of this issue. This issue can divide not just communities, not just Rotary clubs. It can also divide families. And I just think we have to keep reminding it as we start this, as we go through this debate, and as we will start soon after the election for the legislature to look at this. My goal, and I think part of what a job of a governor is on important issues to lay out maybe the big goals, at least as he or she sees those goals. One is I want to protect human life. I'm not going to deviate. That's what I want. I want to protect human life. But we also have to understand, and the legislature, I'm sure, is going to consider the fact that in Ohio, we have the right to referendum. We have the right for the people to go to the ballot. And so I think that as the legislature considers this, they should consider that and aim to achieve something in the passage of a bill that will be sustainable for a number of years. Third, during this time after Roe was overturned, there certainly has been a debate, not just in Ohio, but across the country. And we have heard from medical professionals. We've heard from a number of people. And one of the things I think that the legislature has to look at is to make sure whatever bill is passed, there is clarity to it, and that it does, in fact, inform doctors, others who need to follow it, and does so in a clear way. So those would be my three criteria. I think we have to wait and see what the legislature does. But I lay those out today, and I've laid those out different times, different people before. But I think those, at least for me, one person, those are things that we need to keep in mind. But again, civility and goodwill in the most difficult, contentious issue. We are all Ohioans. We are good people on both sides of this debate. And so let's keep that in mind, because we also have many other things that we need to work together on here in Ohio. This obviously is a very, very important one, important to me. But we also have other things that we need to accomplish for our children, for our families as we go through this debate. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Whaley, what perspective do you have on the legislature acting in the wake of the Dobbs case? What do you think should be done or should not be done by the General Assembly to deal with the Dobbs decision?
Well, clearly I have a very different perspective than Governor DeWine, because my perspective is where the majority of Ohioans are. What we've seen already, first I want to talk about what we've seen already, is 7 hours after Dobbs came out, the 6-week abortion ban went into place. And we've seen what that has had impact on in our communities. A 10-year-old raped in Columbus, who, Governor, if I'm not mistaken, your staff doubted her existence. And when
That's absolutely not true, and you know,
well, that was reported by this paper.
No,
that your folks told them not to report on it because you probably didn't exist.
Mayor, that is an absolute falsehood.
Okay, well, I guess we'll have to let the cleveland.com figure that out, because they reported that. And then when her rapist was found and convicted, you had nothing to say about it. And we see this in Dayton. A woman excited to carry her pregnancy to term has to go across state lines to terminate a pregnancy once she finds out she has cancer to get chemotherapy. And so my question to you, Governor, is do you think it's right, a law that you've already passed and signed, for a 10-year-old who has been raped to carry her rapist child to term? Is that right? Is that what you want?
There is no one, and I say this with maybe some humility, there is no one who is focused more during their career on rape victims. I saw this early on in my career as an assistant prosecutor. I saw the horror, terror, what happens when someone is raped. When I became county prosecuting attorney, one of the things I said was I was going to get justice for rape victims, because we'd had a string in the county of acquittals in rape cases. And I started, along with my partner Bill Skink, and he and I started working on these cases. And we did it by spending a lot of time with the rape victim and gaining her confidence. And in those experiences, I saw the anguish, I saw the horror, what happens when someone is raped. I don't pretend to totally understand it. I wasn't raped. I don't understand that. But I talked to these victims, spent hours with them, and just saw expressed through their eyes and what they told me what they went through. Rape is a crime of violence. And that's how we have to treat it. We were able, as a young county prosecutor, to get convictions in these cases. When I became Attorney General of Ohio, one of the things that shocked me that I found out was that there were many rape kits that were never tested. And so we started getting into that, and we took that on. And I think this board is well familiar with what I did and what Tim McGinty did, and many prosecutors, a lot of people worked on it. But I said, we will not rest until every rape kit in this state is tested. And the vast majority of those that were not tested were in Cleveland, were in Cuyahoga County. So I have a long history of working with rape victims, strong advocate of victims' rights, strong advocate when I was the Attorney General in regard to more resources, more help to victims of crime. So, with all due respect, Mayor, I have a long history of doing this. And, the first thing that went through any prosecutor's mind when the story came out is, who's the SOB that did it? And are they going to be locked up? And are they going to be prosecuted?
Governor, you're not the
that's what goes through your mind.
You're the governor, and there are real consequences to the laws that you've signed, including this one. And this is what,
first of all, Mayor,
when you put issues like this before, and you don't think of the consequences of a 10-year-old in our state that's being raped. And I really want to know if you thought like it's okay for a 10-year-old to carry a rapist child to term, because you still haven't answered that.
Mayor, my heart goes out to that family, to that child, I think of that, and as I do in most things in life, I relate what I see to my own family. If this had occurred, someone in my family, someone I loved, and I can't, my heart goes out to them, as a father. If that was my child, I'd want to go kill the guy. Look, the bill itself, the law itself provides, for the fact that if mother, in this case, a little 10-year-old, is in danger, that abortion can occur. I would just,
Governor,
let me just finish, Marriage, let me just finish, and then you can talk. Let me just finish.
To call lawyers before they practice, and that
Mayor,
is not happening.
can I finish? Let me just finish. We learn as we go through, and with debates and discussions. My belief would be that 10-year-old would have been able to have an abortion in Ohio because of that. If I was wrong, and we're going to hear more from medical professionals, then these are the things that we will need to work out, that the legislature will work out as it debates this bill. Again, I'll go back to one of the three basic principles I said that should be in effect that I would ask the General Assembly to look at. And one of those basic principles is clarity. And if these things are confusing, then the legislature will not only have the opportunity, but I will urge them, if there's ambiguity, to make this as clear as possible and to clear up all ambiguity.
This isn't a bill, Governor. This is a law you've already signed that had implications in the state.
I think we all know that, Mayor.
Well, you're acting like it isn't. You're acting like it's
No,
not something you signed, which you did. And it's already seen implications. And let me tell you, I've had countless roundtables across the state with doctors and med students, and none of them with the law you put forward and signed would say that they would do this, because that's why they had to go across state lines. And secondly, what we have on the books even right now is affecting our med students and the ability of young people making decisions on whether they stay in the state. It is having economic impact, and it's going to have impact on the number of doctors we have serving us, which we already have a short number of, and particularly in rural areas, as you know. So
Mayor,
this kind of out of touch law already on the books. Because I know you always like to say, well, wait to see where the legislature's going so you don't have to have a position. This is one you signed.
Okay, all right. If I can interrupt, folks, I
think
think
have one last comment on that. Mayor, I've resisted talking about this, but after your last comment, I'm going to. Your position is a radical position. Your position consistently has been, and I've got you, there's questionnaires where you've signed, where you said abortion should be allowed at absolutely any point. That means right up until the time of birth. Very few Ohioans, Mayor, with all due respect, agree with that. That's a radical position. Very few Ohioans agree that if I want to have a boy, and then it turns out it's going to be a girl, that abortion can take place at any time because it's the wrong sex. You're the one that is out of the mainstream of what Ohioans think. Your position is a very radical position.
You're completely wrong, Governor. I've said I support Roe, and I'd codify Roe in the Ohio Constitution with a ballot initiative.
I can show you what you signed.
I never heard a bill that made a 10-year-old go across state lines.
Okay. All right. We've debated abortion. Let's move on to the next issue.